Good afternoon and welcome back. It is Uncle Phil, and you know this guy by now is the Frixer. It is my buddy Joe. He has been with me throughout this. We are starting our very last division as we break down the NFC West, but it is not our last show. Remember, tune in tomorrow. We're going to, for the start of the season, we're going to break down first of all, we're going to break down the college preview of what we've seen after week one. Now that we've seen everybody, we're going to kind of break that down. Who's going to reach the championship game, who we think is going to be in there, and then pick the champion of that game. And then we're going to do our NFL playoff preview in that same video and go through recap all the divisions that we've talked about already and go into who's going to win, who's going to be the three remaining wild card playoff teams out of each conference, and then work that through all the way up to the Super Bowl. You don't want to miss that tomorrow. We couldn't be more excited to talk about this. You know, it's kind of sad, Joe. We're kind of at the end now. We're talking about the AFC West, but what a division that we're talking about now. In all the other divisions, I could make a case for maybe two, maybe three teams to be fairly competitive if things fell right. In this division, to me, it seems like all four teams have a chance, and it's like throw them up in the air, and it's like, where do they land? Because as we work through this, there could be some opportunities here for each four teams. I'm excited to get through your picks of how things are going to go. What do you think about the AFC West, man?
Apart from the NFC North, I think it's again probably one of the most interesting divisions in football and the toughest gauntlet to get through for the teams. You know, so they've all had to, you know, it's like an arms race within a division, you know, and everybody keeps leveling up. So it's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. And unlike the NFC North, which is really heavy, you know, between Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, you know, all three got amazing rosters, you know, and you probably got some of the better rosters in the entire NFL right there in that one division. Chicago just seems like it's not their year, and it's kind of a year away. And we kind of went through that, talked about this. These teams may not have the rosters of those teams, but it does feel like that each one of these teams, if things go well, they're going to have a chance to win this division. For me, let's start in alphabetical order, as I always do. Let's start breaking down the Arizona Cardinals. This is the oldest continuously run franchise in the NFL. Them in Chicago started off the two oldest franchises. This is actually the oldest. Started off as the Morgan Athletic Club in 1898. They've come a long way since then, traveled around the country, landed in Arizona, found their home there. Tell me, what do you think of these Cardinals this year?
It's hard to tell. I mean, you know, I think Kyler Murray being back healthy might surprise some folks. I think he's still got some juice. He can still run. He needs to be careful about, you know, how he runs, be selective, but I don't think you want to take that out of his arsenal. Yeah, you know, what was their point differential was you know, just barely positive last year. So, you know, they need to shore up the defense. You know, the offense it was peaked last year, but I think it's due for a bounce back. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Cardinals. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I think it starts with Jonathan Gannon. He was almost the afterthought of when the Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon were offensive defensive coordinators for the Eagles. Of course, Steichen, the offensive coordinator, went to the Indianapolis Colts. Jonathan Gannon went to the Cardinals, and you're like, kind of people had more hopes for Steichen than they did for Gannon. Gannon's really showed me a lot in how he's built this team and how he's managed it. I think he's done a really, really good job. You mentioned Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is, I mean, he's still he's obviously in his athletic prime. He's 28 years old, but he's getting closer to that number of 30. And so it's time for Kyler. You know, the knock of Kyler has always been he's been more occupied with things outside of football than he has been inside of football. And if he can ever get focused, you know, it would be really interesting to see how, this guy, transforms this team, puts it on its back, and does it. I still have hope that he can decide to do that. I kind of feel that way about Caleb Williams. You're like, hey, this guy's got all this athletic talent, and can he just kind of mentally put it together and be 100% focused on football and not some of the outside stuff. And hopefully Kyler can do that this year. Look, for Kyler to reach his potential, it feels like Marvin Harrison, he really have to get on the same page last year. I feel like they were out of sync. Marvin Harrison didn't have the year that everybody thought he was going to have this year. But again, there are tremendous opportunities. This team was 3-5 last year in one-score games, and 4 out of their 5 one-score losses were to playoff teams. Definitely some opportunity for positive regression for Carolina. I think that they've got a really good opportunity. That's why I see this team. They had to shore up their defense. They drafted Walter Nolan in the first round, but they brought in Calais Campbell to be this mentor. This guy's this unbelievable force in the middle. Obviously playing toward the end of his career, but has a great opportunity to show Walter Nolan how to be a pro and to make it there. Look, I obviously need some help at cornerback. Will Johnson came in from Michigan. Question here is, can he stay healthy? I just really see this team as somewhat close. And then you've got Trey McBride, such a weapon on the outside. I mean, he is turned into one of the best tight ends in the entire league, certainly top 5 for sure. Lowest drop rate in the league of any wide receiver or tight end since 2022. I just like them. Strength of schedule's in their way. It's 26th in the league, so certainly definitely manageable. So I see a lot of things and a lot of upside to this team, and potentially, this is a team that could be kind of a team that wins. Again, I see a pathway for this team to win this division. What do you think about, the things that I've said?
I agree. I mean, I think, first of all, like the West, I mean, I don't have any of them, that seem to, indicate to me that they have the juice, to get through the playoffs, get to the Super Bowl. Right. So, what about that, I mean, is somebody's going to surprise you. And with the Cardinals, man, I mean, with Murray, I think Murray is kind of, he's kind of hiding in plain sight. He's sort of this underrated guy, who's better than a lot of people think he is. And if any team in this division has a chance to really surprise in a division that is probably going to have a surprise team, I'd say it's the Cardinals.
Well, it's certainly, like, to your point, this is a division that has an opportunity for surprise, and I won't be surprised. I mean, it's like fishing sticks. You just throw them up and see which one lands, and any one of these teams could land in any order. I really could see this. The Cardinals could be first. They could be last. I feel the same way about the Rams. I feel like, depending on Stafford's health, the Seattle, I could see them. Does Darnold be a one-hit wonder? Does he go first from last? San Francisco, a very aged team. Can they get 15 more minutes I feel like I'm kind of talking about Aaron Rodgers. Like, can they push the sun back up 15 more minutes in the sky again and actually become the team? Because they're a very aged team as well. So, I mean, you could see any of these teams go, and finish in any division. So it's super exciting. But let's go to the next team in line. That is the Los Angeles Rams. This is a team that, again, started slow last year and then at the end of the year seemed to have everything together and came within a hair of beating Philly in the playoffs. The only team that really played Philly competitively at all was the Rams. And, there's a lot of things there. I mean, you've got Stan Kroenke as the owner. You've got Les Mead as the GM, and of course Sean McVay. So you've got all the building blocks for a really good team. And then of course you've got Matthew Stafford, who languished in Detroit for many years. I don't think people realize how respected Matt Stafford is throughout the league and what a great quarterback he is. Stafford is really unbelievable. Obviously, his best years, a lot of those were spent in Detroit on his back. But again, extremely good quarterback. And speaking of his back, that is the problem right now, is that his back is hurt. He hasn't played at all. He's thrown some reps, and can his back hurt? Can his back not hurt through the season? Can it hold up? I mean, Stafford is a notoriously slow starting quarterback anyway. So I'm not sure where they do. Like, for instance, like the last 2 seasons, Stafford, weeks 1 through 9, Stafford is 7-10 with a QBR of 58. Weeks 10 through 18, the past 2 years, he's 13-4 with a QBR of 72. Definitely changes a lot. His TD to interception ratios definitely changed as well. Week 1 through 9, it's 1 point. It's kind of 1 to 3, and then or 1.3 to 1 interception, and then his TD interception rate in weeks 10 through 8, it's 4.5 TDs to 1 interception. So it's definitely statistically significant on what he's doing and how he's managing these games. I mean, what do you think? I mean, you're a guy. I mean, we're all guys who've had back issues. Tell me what you think. Are you not worried about his back this time?
It's yeah, I've had back injuries, and it's really hard to function. Yeah, I mean, just in daily life, never mind like be a professional athlete. But I didn't know he did a stint as a man whore, spending all that time at his back. So that's very interesting.
I knew when I saw you smiling about back issues, I was like,
I like your word picture there. He's very multi-talented.
That Matt Stafford going again. I was like,
very multi-talented guy, that Matt Stafford.
We have gotten way off track here.
I'm sure he was. I'm sure he's very good at his stint as a man whore. But I'm glad he's back to football.
Again, leave your comments for the Frixer alone. He is the one. Again, it's early and he's already derailed things.
Anyway, so yeah, I think like you said, I mean, this one's not very hard to call. If Matt Stafford's healthy, they're going to be good. If he's got issues with his health, they're going to be bad. They kind of rest on him. They have talented guys around him, but they struggle with their pass protection last year, and he's getting older, But he showed last year that he's elite. He's still elite. I mean, he's still, top 10. I mean, if not like, close to top 5 still. But yeah, it all comes down to, how's he doing? I haven't seen a recent report, but I did see that, he was experiencing some issues, in preseason here. So
yeah, we'll see. I mean, they say he's good to go for week 1. We'll see how that plays. We'll see if he's off to his notoriously slow start. Could be an opportunity for people. Again, an older quarterback, hasn't had much time. Especially with like Davante Adams, Cooper Kupp's gone this year. So he's going to have to get a rhythm and a chemistry back with some of his wide receivers teams, and certainly with Davante Adams, both professionals. But again, it takes time to build chemistry, even with 2 of NFL's greats. We'll see. But I'm equally concerned about their left tackle, Larry Jackson. He's been in and out of training camp with blood clot issues. So, that's a concern with me as well, to do that. I think everybody kind of talks about Brock Purdy with, also even in playing in the rain, everybody talks about Brock Purdy with very small hands that he can't play in inclement conditions. Well,
baby hands.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, look, Stafford's 1-6 straight up in the rain in his career. And he is with 10 TDs and 12 interceptions. Like last year, he played 1 game in the rain. First half of the game, it rained. He went 4 of 12 for 23 yards. Second half stopped raining. He went 12 of 15 for 137 yards. So maybe an opportunity for you there as you assess and handicap games as you're going through and you pick a game and it's raining. Not only think about Purdy, but also think about Stafford. Look, something that's really important to you. You and I both have important metrics that we try to share with listeners that we think are super important, and one of those is one-score games. The Rams were 8-5 last year against one-score games, so it all went in their favor last year. this is a team who has an opportunity for negative regression in that way. Look, they handled business last year straight up against teams that were less than 500, going 7-3. But the teams that were greater than 500 had a winning record, but only 4-3. So there is certainly some opportunity there to figure this out. We'll see how they end up doing. I saw. I know we didn't really talk about this, but you talked about their offensive line, how bad it was. 21st in pass block win rate last season, was the worst in the NFL on third down last year. So again, I don't think that, and which really surprised me in the draft, which is something we haven't talked about yet. But one I want to address, they didn't draft a cornerback this year. They need a cornerback. They need another quarterback. They had Jimmy G back there, but Stafford is this, and they didn't draft an offensive tackle as well. So this really feels like kind of their last hurrah, kind of like for Stafford as well. We'll see how that goes. I could see this team going really well. I mean, their defense is off the charts. I really love Jared Verse, their rookies. He's got a really good chance for potentially defensive player of the year this year. He's outstanding. I'd like to see what they do this year. Obviously, I'd love to see a fully healthy Stafford to see if they can make that run. But there are some question marks for me, and I could certainly see the potential for this team pulling back. Final word from you on the Rams.
Just echo all that you're saying. I mean, just keep it simple. It's gonna stand or fall on Matt Stafford and whether or not he chooses life on his back again. There's always if he's done with football though, he can always go back to making my.
We will leave it there. The Occam's razor, the simplest answer is typically the one that is the most viable, and that is Stafford and his back. If that holds up, they're going to probably do well. If it doesn't, if that is inconsistent, then they're probably not going to do well. So that's a word on that. Do that. But look, to a team, again, obviously everything revolves around the quarterback, but really interesting to me. This is one of the quarterbacks to me that is super interesting this year, is that can he go from Kevin O'Connell, the quarterback whisperer, can he keep it up and do the same thing in Seattle? And so that's what we're talking about Sam Darnold, but we're really talking about the Seattle Seahawks. This is a team that, showed flashes last year, had a very questionable offensive line, but potentially have a chance this year to do something. What are your thoughts about Seattle?
Yeah, I don't know what to think about Seattle. Darnold, he was cruising for like a big contract last year, looking great, with the Vikings, and it all just fell apart in like 3 games, right? So I think, it's kind of like, if you're a major league batter, and you demonstrate that you can't hit the curveball, all you're going to see is curveball. So is he going to be able to adjust to pressure? Are they going to be able to protect him enough, so that I guess when he's clean, he performs at a pretty high level. I mean, he's got tools, but the panic mode, didn't suit him well, and teams are going to be zero blitzing the crap out of him until he shows he can handle it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. One of the things that they did to really fix that is they got who's been just a massive surprise for them. In the first round, they drafted Gray Zabel, and he is from one of your hidden jewel teams. He's from North Dakota State, and so he is this unbelievable guy, this interior offensive lineman who has just been absolutely dominant in preseason. Like I said, not too many things, you don't take away scores from preseason, but you can certainly look at aspects of players and see how they're doing and judge certain positions. And so he's a guy that's just been absolutely a hammer, a great offensive lineman. I think that it's going to be interesting. But let's cover our metric that we've. So I think that could shore up that interior line where they were really struggling last year. And so if they can shore up that interior line for them, that could be something that could help Darnold, and he could again have that pressure. Again, he falls off dramatically, as you mentioned, when he has pressure, as do a lot of quarterbacks. We kind of talk about that. That's not an indictment. But the elite, pressure or not, they're standing strong, and their QBR really doesn't change that much. And so, but again, that's the Mahomes, that's the Burrow, that's all these people, Josh Allen, to your point, even Jordan Love doesn't do that.
Well, specifically the blitz, right? Like you need to be able to torch the blitz, right? Now, if you can get if you get the magic of pressure without blitzing, no quarterback does well against that. If you can generate pressure with just rushing for, there's nobody in the league that does. The only two quarterbacks that had positive EPA under pressure last year were Allen and Lamar Jackson. So, but with the blitz, a good NFL quarterback who's going to stay around for a while has to figure out how to murder the blitz. When you bring an extra guy, where's the open man, and make them pay, right, and not panic. Not panic and throw it to the other team, or
Yeah, 100%. Look, again, the metric we always cover. Seattle is 6-3 last year against in one-score games. So again, a chance for, even though they did well, they finished last year at 10-7. They have an opportunity. There's certainly potential there for negative regression. So we're going to see how they do. I love Jalen Milroe. Could be an interesting deal as well. I mean, he's shown some flashes in preseason. They're going to certainly run some packages for him as well. Are you any concern that Jalen Milroe might be breathing down Darnold's neck during the season?
It's really hard to project Milroe. I mean, he throws a real nice deep ball and a real inconsistent every other kind of ball, right? So, but he runs like a tank. I mean, honestly, if I could think of like a situation where Milroe would be perfect, it would be the Eagles. It'd be the Eagles. I think he's like a bigger, stronger Jalen Hurts with a better deep ball. But I have no idea how he's going to project to any normal NFL team with a normal offensive line.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I think it's good. It's like just kind of notable, his inconsistency. Notable completion percentages out of college. These kids were coming out of college. They're kind of their last year in college, and how they kind of ranked. Completion percentages. Josh Allen, obviously out of Wyoming, 56.2% completion percentage. Dak, Mississippi State, 62.8%. Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech, 63.6%. Aaron Rodgers out of Cal, 63.8%. Justin Herbert out of Oregon, 64.0%. Jalen Milroe, 64.3% as far as completions percentage. Jalen Hurts right next to him at 65.1%, and Jaden Daniels at the top of all those with 66.3% coming right out of college. But I'm kind of with you. Look, a lot of these kids, especially, it just is what it is. It's not a knock against Alabama. It's just Alabama's just had such great teams that, they've got, every weapon at every position, from its tight end to offensive line to, a stable of running backs to other wide receivers. So it's hard not for your completion percentage to be up when you're playing like that. And that's why Alabama quarterbacks just haven't done as well in the NFL, because they've never really had to stand on their own and carry a team. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how he develops. Look, NFL's better with better quarterback play. Let's hope Jalen Milroe is one of those guys. Look, the final word on this is their strength of schedule is 22nd, so certainly manageable on that. It'll be interesting to see how they play out. But this leaves our final team, and certainly one of the most popular teams in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers. This is certainly an interesting team that, this is a team that, again, finished last last year in the division. And you're like, is this team going from – there's always one team – well, I wouldn't say always, but since 2002, with the exception of 2 years, there's always a team in a division that's gone from worst to first. And I don't know if this to me seems like the only team that's viable that has a chance to go worst to first in their division this year. What do you think about the San Francisco 49ers and their choice and their chances this year in the West?
Well, I think as long as you got Shanahan coaching, you got a chance, because I think he's one of the top coaches in the entire NFL. He has been, for a long time now, and I think they have some challenges though. They struggled in run and pass blocking last year. And I think, and Philip, you say that I that I trash Purdy. I don't trash Purdy. I think Purdy is really good, system quarterback, game manager. We need to take those aren't pejorative terms. They're not denigrating. I don't think he's a guy that can take a team on his back and go win it like a Josh Allen or something, right? He's really good at what he does, and he runs Shanahan's plays like Shanahan draws them up, and that's why they've hung on to him. He's a very good quarterback, and we need to take the stigma off of those titles. Game manager, system quarterback. Yeah, sure, he's both of those things, and he does it at a very high level. But they've got to get that blocking together, to have a real chance to make a run. And and knowing Shanahan, they probably will. He'll figure something out. I mean, schematically, he'll figure something out, to give them a chance. What do you think?
Well, look, I think that I think you nailed it. I mean, really, particularly with their blocking, and you're talking about Trent Williams last year, who was out with an ankle a lot of the season. He's 36 years old. You've got a team that is up in age right now. And what are you doing to replace them? You've got all these kind of aging stars, but not really any really young stars that are actually emerging for them yet. I mean, you've got Christian McCaffrey, who's 29, Brandon Ayuk, that's 27. It's still, it's going to be out for probably at least 6 weeks, still recovering from that ACL MCL injury. And George Kittle actually turning 32 in October. So again, it feels like another team that could potentially, their window is closing. I thought about that about Detroit. Kind of feels the same way here. Detroit, for different reasons, you kind of got an aging quarterback and got, the stars were kind of aligned for Detroit last year, but this is a different deal. They just, you've got to keep guys healthy. And that's certainly my biggest concern for this team, is that Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, certain brought in Brian Robinson, an extra running back from Washington, to spell McCaffrey this year, to do that. To me, it is a team that has the most promise, because they've got the easiest schedule in the entire NFL. And again, that the way I do schedule rankings is I do it based on Vegas's win total projection this year, not based on last year's teams, because team change dynamics and all that. I do it based on this year's projected totals. And so based on this year's projected win totals, San Francisco's got the easiest path of any team to the playoffs, because they have the easiest schedule. But again, my concern is this, and it's kind of the overarching thing. You kind of talked about, you heaped a lot of praise on Shanahan, and well-deserved. He's unbelievable, his play calling. When he's on script, it's the first half that he's really good on. If he's behind in the second half, it's his record's really atrocious with that. And also, he has become, in the San Francisco organization, very much like Pete Carroll and very much like Bill Belichick, in the fact that he has accumulated power and has had more influence in the draft than John Lynch. So you see this divergence now, where John Lynch was really good at drafting people when he was the only cook in the kitchen. Now that Shanahan has been involved in that, the draft picks have been different. Like even like not this past year, but the year before, they drafted a kicker in the 3rd round. I mean, that is Belichick-esque, and that is something that you absolutely cannot do. So that's the concern now, is that Shanahan has accumulated power and started like, hey, you can't expect me to cook without picking the groceries as well, type thing. That kind of old Bill Parcells type of thing that he used to say. And so here we are with this, and it feels like these are some of the things internally that are hurting San Francisco, because again, all the stars are aged, that are older, and those are the stars that John Lynch picked. You don't have any of the new stars that are popping that Kyle Shanahan is picking. And so, again, we'll see. I mean, last year, again, let's just go through last year's standings of who are the last place teams, that have potential to go worst to first. You got Patriots. Can they potentially go worst to first and win the AFC East over the Bills? I don't think so, unless Josh Allen gets hurt. If he gets hurt, then all bets are off, right? You've got the Raiders going from worst to first. I don't think that's going to happen. I'd say that's probably the chance of that's very small. The Cleveland Browns, no. AFC South, the Tennessee Titans going from worst to first, doubtful. Really would be super surprising on that. NFC, you'd have the Giants going from worst to first. I don't see that happening. They'd have to hop, the Commanders as well as the Eagles. I don't see that happening. NFC North, the Bears hopping the Vikings, the Lions, and the Packers. Don't see that happening. NFC South, the Saints, definitely not happening. So that leaves us with the 49ers as being this last place team. And it's happened, again, out of the past 22 years, it's happened 20 of the past 22 years, teams going from worst to first. And the San Francisco team feels like them or potentially New England that are the teams that potentially go from worst to first. I don't know if that would happen, but I just, again, have some real question marks about this team. Do you think that in a division like this, that San Francisco can be the team that goes from worst to first?
I mean, everything has to fall right for them, right? And they got to get some breaks, with the other teams having some bad luck, right? So they got some challenges. I agree with you about Shanahan. He's great when he's in his lane, same as Belichick. By the way, I think they're a similar personality type, and those guys, they stay in their lane, and they're.
What personality type do you think that they are?
Well, I mean, I don't know if your listeners are familiar with Myers-Briggs, but they're both INTJs. Nick Saban is an INTJ, right? Some of the best coaches, you, Uncle Phil, are INTJ, I believe, right? So some of the best coaches of all time have been INTJs, but the danger with INTJs is they want more and more power. Like you, Phil, you're obsessed with power. No, I'm kidding. But the thing is, they're amazingly competent, in their area of focus. But that's where their competence rests, right? And if you add more and more responsibility, because anybody wants more and more, power, more and more control over their destiny. Yeah. The trouble is that's getting outside of their lane, getting outside of their area of focus. And you've seen that with Belichick, kind of brought Belichick down in New England. And I agree with you that Shanahan, is and I maintain this, that he's one of the best coaches in the NFL, but you got to be careful about how much you widen his circle, even if he wants that circle widened. I don't think he realizes like that he's not strong at everything. He's strong at what he is strong at, and he should stick to that.
Yep, so 100%. Yeah. I mean, look, from a positive regression standpoint, this team was 1-8 last year. They were 1-8 versus teams over 500. Again, but that was against the spread. This is a team that we'll see. It really depends upon their health. I think it really does. If this team is healthy, I think they could. They certainly haven't started off that way. Their wide receiver room is decimated. They're picking up players that have been waived right now and trying to get some trades for some people. I just am concerned. I really love the addition of Robert Saleh back as defensive coordinator. I think he'll turn the defense around. The defense could be the team that actually the people that keep them in, or the defense could be the part of the team that actually keeps them in games. Very concerned, though. They had a massive amount of departures. Debo Samuels, Travarius Ward, Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw. I mean, those guys are really backbones of this team. Leonard Floyd, Javon Hargrave. They had some people to defensive tackle Malik Collins. Definitely had some people that left. We'll see. One of the young stars they're counting on is Mikael Williams, edge out of Georgia. Having him play opposite of Bosa, that may be the bright spot of this team if they actually do make the leap, because he could be, since people are focused on Bosa on one end, look at him as a potential surprise defensive rookie of the year as well. So that's an opportunity there. But again, this team has to stay healthy. Other thing they have to do is get off on a good start. Look at, for instance, let's talk about Purdy's stats last year by quarter. I kind of tracked those last year. His first quarter, 6 TDs, 1 interception. Second quarter, 6 TDs, 1 interception. Third quarter, 4 TDs, 4 interception. Fourth quarter, 4 TDs, 6 interceptions. Again, he and Shanahan have to be able to play on script and to be able to do it. Purdy last year, 1-6 record versus playoff teams and then versus non-playoff teams, 5 TDs, 3 interceptions. It is really interesting. Straight up 1-score games, 2-6. So they have a good opportunity for that positive regression. You talked about Brock Purdy. You kind of turned him to a game manager. I will push back a little bit on that one because, again, here's the best QBR, the stat that you and I love, right? In the league since Purdy became a starter back in week 14 of 2022, minimum 20 starts in this. Josh Allen, QBR of 72.3. Lamar Jackson, QBR 71.7. Brock Purdy, number 3, QBR of 70.6. Patrick Mahomes, 67.1. And Joe Burrow, 66.8. Again, that's better than a game manager.
Well, I don't know. I think it's, and I take your, and by the way, my point was we need to remove the stigma from these titles. Like he is an elite game manager. He's an elite system quarterback. He is running Shanahan's offense to a T. He's very, very good at it. I don't think he's not a Josh Allen. He's not a guy that's going to take the team on his shoulders, and do something weird and unexpected, to win the game. He's going to do what's expected and do it to a T. And if that's enough to win the game, that's going to win the game because he's going to get it done. So you can have a high QBR and not be a superhero quarterback like a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Right. But I think that's what he is. And for what he is the best. He is the best possible version of what he can be. So I think Purdy's a great story. I'm not anti-Purdy, but yeah, I don't think he's elite, but Shanahan makes him elite, and he follows the script to a T.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I knew that would kind of get you wound up, and I'm glad that Frixer brought his A game with him and certainly defined that, because I'm with you. Game manager is not a negative term. It's been used as one, and certainly Purdy is falling in that lead. The traits that he does do well. He's a really good time and anticipatory thrower of the football. He is a high-level post-snap operator. He's just not a dynamic athlete like, say, Lamar, Allen, or Mahomes. But certainly he's got some great qualities of him. Everybody who talks about him talks about his high-level ability to process, and certainly those things show. Again, easiest schedule this year, at least on the projected win totals. We'll see how that turns out. But this team could be a team that could go. It's really boom or bust for me on this team, and I could certainly see it either way. Well, it is that time of day. We have gone through this entire division. This is our last division to rack them and stack them. The Frixer, tell me how you rank these teams, how you see these teams playing out this year.
Well, I must admit, when you introduced the division, I thought you were talking about AFC West, and that's why I said it was a strong division. No, I think this is one of the weakest divisions in football. Okay, so let me just correct that. But it is one of the more interesting divisions in football because I don't think you have. I don't think you have any elite teams here, and for that reason, right. I think you're going to get a real mix up here, and I'm going to go with. I think the Cardinals are going to surprise to the upside. I think Murray is set up to have a really good season. I think the Cardinals are going to take it, and I think the 49ers are going to come from. They're not going to go worst to first. They're going to go worst to second. I think the Rams, if Stafford, if they can keep him healthy, will be right in there for that second place nod, and then Seattle falls to last place, but probably not bad. They probably won't be bad. I just don't think they'll be good.
So let's see. So Arizona's number 1. And then you're going to go with 2. You're going to San Francisco, Rams,
Seahawks, but pretty tightly grouped, a tight grouping, it's kind of like it was last year. Pretty tight grouping last year.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I mean, this is it's a really interesting thing. I honestly have struggled with this division more than any other team, nor the division out there as far as ranking them. I'm going to go. I want to do this. I'm going to go with you. I like Arizona. I like Arizona to do this. I'm going to flip-flop this. I'm going to go with Seattle actually second. I think Stafford's back is going to cause him issues. I'm going to go with and then Alaric Jackson has me worried with the blood clot issues. I still don't think their offensive line is that strong. I'm going to sneak San Francisco up to 3rd, and I'm going to put the Rams in 4th. But wouldn't surprise me. It was completely the opposite. Really wouldn't. I mean,
Rams could finish anywhere from 1st to 4th, depending on Stafford.
No. Yeah. And when I say that's how they're going to finish, I think all these teams are 9-8, 8-9. I think every one of them are 9-8 and 8-9. And this is not a slap. And I just think it's going to come down to wins and one team being healthy. And it's like, these metrics of wins over teams in the division. And I think it's going to come down to that. And I think it's going to be, these teams are probably all going to be playing competitive games in week 18 because they're trying to figure out who's going to win this division. And I think that's the going to shuffle out. So I love it. This has been a really fun one then. And thanks for doing this with me this year, the Frixer, because you've been certainly a big additive to this, and it's been fun. The audience clearly loves you, and you're one of my best friends. So I appreciate you, man. Look, guys, hey, for the Frixer, this is Uncle Phil, but again, we're not done. Stay with us tomorrow, because tomorrow we're literally breaking down all the picks that we did. We're going to pick a Super Bowl champion. We're going to go through the playoffs. We're going to also pick college football championship to start off with. So, guys, there is much more. So please tune in tomorrow. And again, tomorrow is not only our picks to finalize everything. Tomorrow is also the official start of the NFL season. Dallas and Philadelphia, what a matchup. That we think is going to be just a tire fire in a lot of ways, but it's going to be good theater. So anyway, stick with us tomorrow. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Follow and like and subscribe on YouTube, please. And follow me on other social media. And if you'd like to take this to the next level, please don't hesitate to go to my website, UnclePhil'sLocks.com. I've got subscription packages, and thank you all for your subscriptions. You help make this run smoothly. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Have an amazing day. And as always, guys, let's roll.